Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Today I'm going to recap last night's Monday night football game between the Giants and the Chiefs. College football, there's a couple games on tonight, so we'll make some picks for that. NBA will recap last night's games and look ahead to tonight. Same with the NHL, Major League Soccer. We will preview and predict Game 6 of the World Series. News and notes, Dancing with the Stars. Today's election day, so we'll talk about some elections and my best bet of the day. We'll start with Monday Night Football, as we do each and every Tuesday podcast. And the Chiefs came out on top of the game that they absolutely had to have, 20-17. As they go to 4-4, the Giants drop to 2-6. Patrick Mahomes, 29-48, 275 yards, a touchdown, and the pick. Daniel Jones, 22-32, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. As the Chiefs get a much-needed win. It would have been an absolute embarrassment if the Chiefs lost to the Giants. It would have been. And now the Chiefs look ahead to the Packers game. I'm not willing to say the Chiefs are back yet. If they kill the Packers and they pull off a couple other major beatdown wins over the next couple weeks, then I'm convinced. But nope, not yet. Beat the Packers, and then maybe I'll be in. Okay, now I'll move on to college football. We will go over tonight's slate. We have 3 games, all action games. First up, 7 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, Ball State and Akron. I project Ball State by 6, total 56.3. Meanwhile, this game stands at Ball State by 20.5, total 57.5. That's just insane. I'm taking Akron in the points. This is just crazy. Action Tuesday night. It's fun to bet on underdogs against the spread with Maction. I mean, if this is a 20-point win for Ball State, this pick is an absolute winner. So, we went with an Akron, and then I have a slight edge to the under. Next up, 7:30 on ESPNU, Miami of Ohio at Ohio. I project Miami of Ohio by 3.5, total 48.75. Meanwhile, it is 7.5 and 52.5. So, for this one, I will go with the under. But they have a big edge on both the under and on Ohio, but I'm going to go with the under. And then last but not least, 7:30 on ESPN2, Eastern Michigan at Toledo. I project Toledo by 1.5, total 51.85. Meanwhile, it's Toledo by 8.5, total of 53.5. I love Eastern Michigan getting all the points. I think that this game will be a lot closer than that number suggests. And I have a slight edge on this game as well with the under. All right, now move on to the NBA. We will recap last night's results, and we will look ahead to today's games. Cavs over the Hornets, 113-110. The Cavs, 4-4. Charlotte, 5-3. Jared Allen, 24 points, 16 boards. LaMelo Ball at 30 for Charlotte. Pacers over the Spurs, 131-118. The Pacers are 2-6. The Spurs are 2-5. Domantas Sabonis, 24 points, 13 boards. DeJounte Murray, 16. 76ers over the Trailblazers, 113-103. So best bet was a loser. Philly 5-2, Portland 3-4. Seth Curry 23 points. Norman Powell 22 points. Hawks over the Wizards 118-111. The Hawks are 4-3. Wizards 5-2. Trae Young 26 points and 6 assists. Bradley Beal 24 points for the Wiz. Bulls over the Celtics 128-114. The Bulls are 6-1. Boston is 2-5. DeMar DeRozan 37 points. Jaylen Brown had 28. Raptors over the Knicks 113-104 from the Garden. Toronto is 5-3. Knicks are 5-2. OJ Anunoby 36 points. And RJ Barrett had 27. Grizzlies over the Nuggets 106-97. The Grizz are 4-3. So are the Nuggets. John Morant 26 points and 8 assists. Nikola Jokic 23 points and 7 assists. Magic over the Timberwolves 115-97. Orlando 2-6, Minnesota 3-3. Cole Anthony 31 points and 8 assists. Anthony Edwards 24 points for Minnesota. Clippers over the Thunder 99-94. The Clippers are 2-4. Oklahoma City's 1-6. Paul George 32.7 assists. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 28.7 boards. Now we look ahead to tonight, 7 o'clock. You have the Bucks and the Pistons. I project the Bucks by only 4.5 total to 11.8. That's because of the injury to Drew Holiday. And it is 5 and 215.5. I am gonna go with the under in this game. And a slight edge to the Pistons as like a second choice. 7:30 on TNT, the Heat at the Mavericks. I project the Mavericks by a half, total to 206.15. Meanwhile, it is Heat by 1.5, total to 11.5. This is another under. And then a slight edge to the Mavericks. And I think that they think that there's a chance Kristaps Porzingis doesn't play. 9 o'clock, the Kings at the Jazz. I project the Jazz by 9.5, total of 215.15. Meanwhile, it's 9 and 220. This is another under. And then a slight edge to the Jazz. But there might be no Mike Conley. 10 o'clock on TNT, you have the Pelicans and the Suns. I project the Suns by 14 3/4, total 215.35. Meanwhile, it is 11.5 and 216.5. I'm going to lay the points with the Suns here. No Zion still. And I think this is a good spot for the Suns to remind people who came out of the West last year. And 10:30, the Rockets and the Lakers. I project the Lakers by 13 total, 217.65. Meanwhile, it is 10.5 and 217. I'm going to lay the points with the Lakers. I think that the whole gang will play. And I have a slight edge. I mean the slightest edge to the over. All right, now I'm going to move on to hockey, where I'll recap last night's games. There wasn't a big slate last night. I think there's a big slate tonight. Yeah, small slate. So the Lightning over the Capitals 3-2. The Lightning are 5-3-1. Washington is 5-1-3. So it's the first Caps regulation loss of the year. Number 3 star of the game didn't have a point but played well. Eric Cernak, the number 2 star of the game with 31 saves on 33 shots. Andrei Vasilevsky, and the number 1 star of the game with the goal and 2 assists. Anthony Cirelli. Blackhawks over the Senators 5-1. So the Blackhawks finally get on the board with the win. They were 1-7-2. Ottawa's 3-5-0. Number 3 starting game with 2 goals, Brandon Hagel. Number 2 started the game with 29 saves on 30 shots, Marc-Andre Fleury. Number 1 started the game with a hat trick and an assist in his return from the COVID protocol, Patrick Kane. Oilers over the Kraken 5-2. The Oilers 7-1-0. The Kraken are 3-6-1. The number 3 started game with 27 saves on 29 shots, Mikko Koiskinen. Number 2 started the game with a goal, Duncan Keith. Number 1 started the game with 2 goals and 2 assists, Leon Draisaitl. All right, now we look at it tonight. Yes, we have a big window tonight. 7 o'clock, you have the Golden Knights and the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs are ridiculous. Minus 172. Vegas is plus 142. Over under 6. Over is minus 102. Under is minus 120. Vegas plus 1F is minus 188. Toronto minus 1F is plus 152. I'm taking Vegas plus 142 straight up the win in Toronto. That is way too big. I get it, no William Karlsson, but come on. That's just one player. The Red Wings and the Canadians. Montreal's minus 152. Detroit's plus 126. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 105. Under is minus 115. Red Wings plus 1F is minus 196. Canadians minus 1F is plus 158. I am going to go with the under. I just think this is a lower scoring game. But I just don't have a good feel on who's going to win. So I'm going to go under 5.5 minus 115 just to play it safe. Coyotes, Flyers. The Flyers minus 245. Arizona's plus 198. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 118. Under is minus 104. Arizona plus 1F is minus 135. Philly minus 1F is plus 110. I'm going over 5.5 at minus 118. 8 o'clock, the Senators and the Wild. The Wild are minus 235. Ottawa's plus 190. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 112. Under is minus 108. Ottawa plus 1F is minus 154. Minnesota minus 1F is plus 126. I am going to lay to minus 1.5 in Minnesota. I think that this is a multi-goal win for the Wild. And to take care of business and go to the next game. So I'm going to lay them at 1.5 with the Wild at plus 126. The Stars and the Jets. The Jets are minus 137. The Stars are plus 114. Over under 5.5. Overs plus 102. Unders minus 124. Dallas plus 1F is minus 235. Winnipeg minus 1F is plus 186. I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars here in an upset. Plus 114. They get back to 500. I think that there's a chance that they get this done. Regardless of who's in net, whether it's Holtby or whomever. So give me the plus 114 with Dallas over Winnipeg. I just have a gut feeling about Dallas stealing it on the road. 9 o'clock, Predators, Flames. The Flames are minus 160. Nashville plus 132. Over under 5.5. Minus 110 each fight. Nashville plus 1.5 is minus 210. Flames minus 1.5 is plus 168. I'm going to take the... Let's go with the under. I think this is a low-scoring game. Because I think that Jacob Markstrom and Juuse Saros will play out of their minds. 10 o'clock, the Rangers at the Canucks. Rangers minus 137. Vancouver plus 114. Over under 5.5. Overs minus 106. Unders minus 114. Rangers minus 1.5 is plus 210. Vancouver plus 1.5 is minus 265. I'm going to take the Canucks here. I think this is a spot where they could use a win. Rangers have a road trip. It's hard to win every game on a road trip. So give me the Canucks plus 114 against the Rangers. Devils, Ducks. The Devils are minus 126. The Ducks are plus 105. Over under 5.5. Overs minus 108. Unders minus 112. Devils minus 1.5 is plus 198. Ducks plus 1.5 is minus 250. Let's take the Ducks as a home dog. Why not? Same reasoning, same logic as the Devils. I'm sorry, the Canucks pick. Or Devils and Rangers, same analysis of road trip, and you can't win every game on the road trip, or it's hard to win every game on a road trip. So I'm going to go with the Ducks. And at 10:30, the Sabres at the Sharks. Sharks minus 156. The Sabres are plus 130. Over under 6. Overs minus 108. Unders minus 112. Buffalo minus 1.5 is plus 196. Or I'm sorry, plus 1.5 is minus 196. Sharks plus 1.5 is minus 158. I'm going to go with the over. I think there's going to be a lot of goals in this game. I don't know who will win, but I'm going to go over 6 at minus 108. All right, Major League Soccer from last night. We'll look back on the game from last night. And we'll look ahead to tonight's game. LA Galaxy and Seattle 1-1 draw. First goal scored by Javier Hernandez of the Galaxy in the 19th minute to put them up 1-0. And then in the 50th minute on a penalty kick, Raul Ruiz of Seattle ties it at 1, and it remained like that for the rest of the game. Now we look ahead to tonight. 10:30 on ESPN+. LAFC and Vancouver. This should be a fun Western Conference game. I think that this will be a good game. LA is minus 220 at home. Vancouver's 5-1. Draws plus 320. I think I'm going to go with the draw, just to go with something of value. So give me draw plus 320 between the LAFC and Vancouver. All right, the World Series resumes tonight, 8 o'clock on Fox. Joe Buck, John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal, and Tom Verducci. I think that it's going to be fun. A lot of things on the line here beyond the baseball stuff. So tonight will determine whether we have Masked Singer tomorrow to cover or not, or whether we have a Game 7. Other than the obvious what's on the line, like the Braves and trying to end their 26-year drought, the Astros trying to force a Game 7, and in Houston, it's Luis Garcia for the Braves is Max Fried. Astros minus 126, Braves plus 108, over under 8.5. Overs minus 118, unders minus 104. Braves plus 1.5 is minus 178. Astros minus 1.5 is plus 146. This is tough. I'm not going to pick a side as the podcast play. I'm going to take the total, and I'm going to take the over. I think that these offenses are like in a seesaw of who's hot in each game. I think this will be more runs in this game again, as I think both teams' bullpens are getting tired. But in terms of who wins the game, I'm going to say the Astros force a Game 7 back at home. And I'm going to say, for the podcast pick, though, over 8.5, minus 118. So I bet you we'll have a Game 7 tomorrow, and Masked Singer's going to have to wait a week. Alrighty, now I'm going to do news and notes for today. A little earlier version of news and notes because of other things that I want to touch on. We'll do the trade deadline last in news and notes. So the Yankees have soured on free agent shortstop Trevor Story after it was reported they were targeting him at the trade deadline a year ago, or a couple months ago, I should say. Cole Caulfield sent down to the Laval Rocket of the AHL after just earning 1 point in 10 games. Yikes. Everybody had him as the Calder winner. Everyone. But nope, he's at Laval now. LSU quarterback Miles Brennan enters the transfer portal after playing 3 games as a starter before breaking his arm. That is a big name in there. Backed up Joe Burrow. So we'll see who takes a chance. William Karlsson, the missed time with the lower body injury. We talked about that in the hockey segment, as we also talked about the return of Patrick Kane. Meanwhile, Zion Williamson out another 2 to 3 weeks as he's progressing, but will undergo further tests after the 2-3 week mark. Kevin Love out several games as he's entered the health and safety protocols. Joel Embiid had an MRI on his knee as he didn't even play in that Portland game. How did the Sixers beat Portland. That was just a bad loss for Portland. Oh, my God. But he'll be back on Wednesday. And I believe that's a national game as well. Kofi Cockburn will serve a 3-game suspension for selling gear 1 month before the NIL legislation passed. So that suspension could be costly depending on who they play. I don't know the schedules on top of my head. I'll get into my college basketball work at some point with some previews and whatnot. But if they have some big games during his suspension, oh boy. Adam Fox gets a 7-year extension, $9.5 million a year. Amazing contract extension for him. $66.5 million in total worth. He deserves it. He won the Norris Trophy last season, so you just knew he was going to get paid, and he's been great so far this year as well. So good for Adam Fox. Dak Prescott could be ready for Week 9, which is this Sunday. Russell Wilson gets pin removed as he tweets out a picture of the removed pin from the finger. No more pin, time to win. And the rumor is that he'll be back for week number 10. Kyler Murray day-to-day and status for the 49ers game up in the air. The sad story that we broke on yesterday's show is about Derrick Henry and how he is going to be out due to foot surgery. But he's only supposed to be out 6 to 10 weeks. So it's a lesser of a time frame than we anticipated. So we're heading into week 9. 6 weeks from now is week 15. So he might be back for he might come back the last month of the season. So it's not a lock that he's done for the year. Yes, it's a big loss for Tennessee. They signed Adrian Peterson to replace him. And we'll see. Meanwhile, we knew this player was going to be done for the season. Jameis Winston, torn ACL. That's unfortunate for the Saints. He's had some moments this year. The team's 5-2. If they make the playoffs, Sean Payton, to me, has to be the coach of the year. I'm sorry. But that's just a big injury for the Saints. Now, Trevor Siemian, not that much of a downgrade, in my opinion. And it's less about Siemian and Winston, and it's more about the talent around the team. And I think Winston's better than Siemian, but I don't think it's that monstrous of a drop-off like Russell Wilson, the Geno Smith is. Someone else that is done for the season is Minnesota's Danielle Hunter, as he tore a peculiar muscle. That is a big loss for the Vikings on defense. James Robinson day-to-day with a foot injury. Status for week 9 in question. Ravens linebacker Malik Harrison struck by a bullet in his left calf at a gathering in Cleveland. Injury is not life-threatening. That's scary. New York Mets part ways with acting GM Zach Scott, as he's no longer part of the organization and was placed on administrative leave after the DWI arrest in August. Gary Bettman defends reaction to the Blackhawks case and says the league's goal is to do what's necessary to continue to move forward in the wake of the investigation. And the Players Association board is to vote on whether outside review is needed to look into the union's handling of the allegations of Kyle Beach. So the Breeders' Cup Classic is this weekend at Del Mar. I would like to have Jeff Burns on the show in the next couple days. I think maybe tomorrow if Potentially, if not Thursday. I'm leaning more towards Thursday, but I wouldn't rule out tomorrow. But yeah, I want to have Jeff Burns on Thursday. I haven't had him on in a while. As the early favorite for the Breeders' Cup Classic is Knicks Go at 5-2. This is probably Lou Williams' last year in the NBA, as he says, I have the clarity, I'm okay with that, on Taylor Brooks' podcast. The 76ers fans last night, we want Lillard. And Dame says, I've got 10 toes in Rip City. Celtics point guard Marcus Smart criticizes Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in crunch time. They don't want to pass the ball. That's something that they're going to learn. Oof. Yeah, that is a little bit of a scuttlebutt there by Marcus Smart. Joe Judge had headset issues, as he's frustrated that he's had problems with his headset at every stadium this season after loss to the Chiefs. And the last thing I want to discuss is the NFL trade deadline being today. We saw one monster trade yesterday as the Rams acquire Von Miller from the Denver Broncos for a 2022 second and a 2022 third. I think that's a big addition for the Rams. That's now an absolutely scary defensive front. I think that with this trade, they're right there at the Bucs for the team to beat in the conference. I think the Rams are better defensively than the Bucs, but the Bucs have, in my opinion, the better quarterback and more firepower on offense. So I think the Rams took a step in that direction to try to be right there at the Bucs. And the Rams want to keep Von Miller, as they will try to re-sign him and extend him. So the Rams keep trying yet again for the win now star power move. You saw it with Stafford. You saw it now with Von Miller. You saw it with Jalen Ramsey. So it's just a big time move for the Rams. And I think Von Miller, although he was emotional after the trade, because he was a very good Denver Bronco and the best defensive players in Broncos history, Super Bowl MVP of Super Bowl 50, and now he goes to another win-now team in the Rams to try to end their drought, as the Rams now only have 3 2022 picks. So I just want to quickly touch on every team, buy or sell, before I move on. Jets, I think, will probably sell. Dolphins sell. I mean, if anything today, I should say. Patriots should be a buyer. AFC, to me, that especially that last spot is wide open. The Bills will probably buy, but stand put. Steelers, that's a tough one. They're trying to trade Melvin Ingram, but I could see them doing a little bit of both. The Ravens, I think, will probably be a buyer. Same with the Browns. Bengals should make a nice move, maybe to help their on defense, or the offensive line, if the right player is available for them. The Texans are obviously a seller. They traded Mark Ingram. It's just so dumbfounding that they came out and said that they want to build around Brandon Cooks. That's the dumbest thing I've heard all year. Titans, I think, will try to get another running back. They'll buy. Jaguars sell. Colts, that's a tough one. I think they stand put. The West, Denver's obviously a seller. They traded Von Miller. The Chiefs will be a buyer. And I could see them going out and making a move for like a wide receiver. Chargers will be a buyer. Raiders will be a buyer. NFC East, I think the Cowboys will be a buyer. And the other 3 teams will be a seller. I think that Green Bay will be a buyer. I think the Bears might try to make a win-now move for Justin Fields. Minnesota might be a buyer because of the Danielle Hunter situation. They might try to replace him. And then Detroit will obviously be a seller, if anything. The South, Saints buyer, Bucks buyer. And I think the Falcons and the Panthers might be the 2 biggest wild cards of the trade deadline. It's very unknown what those 2 teams are going to do. And in the West, obviously, the Rams are a buyer. The Cardinals a buyer. Seattle, despite being 2-5, I think they'll be a buyer because they know Russell Wilson's coming back sooner rather than later. And I think the 49ers might try to be a buyer, too. To try to make some upgrades at certain positions, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see what happens. And obviously we'll recap the trades if there's any more big trades on tomorrow's show. Dancing with the Stars from last night. We will recap the episode. It was Queen's night. And we'll start at the top of the running order. Amanda and Alan went first. They did a jive dance to Don't Stop Me Now. And they got a 33. So yeah, it was Queen night. Not Queen's night. That's my mistake. Like the band Queen. Then it was Olivia and Val. Quick step to Fat Bottom Girls, 38. Amon and Daniela. Paso Doble. Another One Bites the Dust, 32. Jimmy and Emma. Finesse Waltz. Somebody to Love, 38. The Mitts and Whitney. Foxtrot. Radio Gaga, 32. Jojo and Jenna. Tango to Body Language with a 39. Suni and Sasha. A Paso Doble to We Will Rock You, 33. Cody and Cheryl. Foxtrot to You're My Best Friend, 34. Melora and Artem. Foxtrot Killer Queen, 36. And then they partnered each pair in threes. The Miz and Whitney, Amon and Daniela, and Cody and Cheryl all did a jive relay to Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Miz and Whitney 0, Amon and Daniela 2, Cody and Cheryl 2. And Amon and Daniela got the 2 from Carrie Ann and Derek. Cody and Cheryl got the 2 from Len and Bruno. Jojo and Jenna, Olivia and Val, Jimmy and Emma did a Foxtrot relay to Under Pressure with David Bowie. Jojo and Jenna got a 0. Olivia and Val got a 4 from all the judges. And Jimmy and Emma got a 0. And then Amanda and Alan, Suni and Sasha, and Melora and Artem did a Vanessa Waltz relay to We Are the Champions. Amanda and Alan got a 1 from Derek. Suni and Sasha got a 1 from Carrie Ann. And Melora and Artem got a 2 from Len and Bruno. And the judges' votes to save. Tonioli, Anaba, and Huff all voted to save Jojo and Jenna. And Goodman did not vote, but would have voted to save Jojo and Jenna, as they were stunningly in the bottom 2. And the pair that was eliminated was The Miz and Whitney. The Miz and Whitney had a great run. They did. They put on some good performances, but this is a deep group of pairs, and somebody has to go. So that's sad for The Miz and Whitney. Good run. And we'll see how the rest of the season goes. Next week is Janet Jackson. So that's a fun category to do. All right. Today's election day, as we know. On this show today, we will touch on the New Jersey gubernatorial, New York City mayoral, and a little bit of the Virginia gubernatorial. So we'll start with Jersey, my home state. A lot of Jersey people listen to the show. And I think that it's going to be a closer race than expected. You have, obviously, Governor Murphy seeking re-election and Jack Cettarelli trying to unseat him. I think that a couple things to factor in with this is big cities in certain counties and what direction they would go, because I did some research over the last 3 elections to see where some of the big cities went, because some of them were red in 2013, some of them were blue in 2017, and in 2009 some of them were mixed. So I'm going to make my calls for each county, and then I'll make a pick of who will win. Atlantic County, I think that will be a red county. Atlantic City, I think, will be a blue, obviously. And so will Pleasantville, who those towns voted blue the last 3 elections. I think that Atlantic, though, will be red because of towns like Brigantine that are big. I think that a town like Galloway, which is pretty big, and Egg Harbor Township could be red towns. Egg Harbor City could be a potential flip. They were blue 2 of the last 3 years, but the 1 year they were red was 2013. That could potentially flip. We'll see. Bergen County, I think, will be blue. I think Murphy will win Bergen County. I think all the big towns like the Hackensack, I think, will be blue. Teaneck will be blue. There's a lot of red towns in Bergen County, too, so I could be wrong here, as Bergen County was a red county in 2013 for Chris Christie. But I think some of the big towns that could go red will be Wyckoff is one. Rutherford, I think, will be blue. Paramus is red, although that could be blue for the second consecutive election. But I think Paramus is a huge wild card town in Bergen County, but I think Bergen County will be a blue. Burlington's a tough call. I'm going to say that will be a red county. Despite some big towns that tend to go blue, but the South, like, just from driving around and whatnot, like Burlington County, it has like a lot of red in it. But I think that's going to be a close call. Medford's a red town. That's a pretty big town. North Hanover. Bordentown Township, I think, could be red. But Bordentown City and Burlington City, I think, will be blue. Cinnaminson's a bit of a wild card in that town. Camden, I think, will be blue. Camden City was blue the last 3 years. That is a blue city, obviously. But a town that I think could be a little bit of a wild card here could be Cherry Hill. 2 of the last 3 were blue. But I think that could be a wild card. But I do think that Camden will be blue. And they were blue 2 of the last 3 elections. By the way, Burlington was red 2 of the last 3. Cape May, I think, will be red. It was red the last 3 elections. All of their big towns are red towns. So I think that Cape May will be red. Cumberland County is a tough call. I think that Cumberland County will be... I think this is a close red, but don't forget, this is all based on popular vote for the winner of this election, not county votes. But I just like to predict the counties. Cumberland, I think, will be red. Don't feel great about it. But the only way I could see Cumberland being blue is if the very blue towns of Fairfield and Bridgeton go all out, and Vineland and then they've got a couple flips like Greenwich, which was a blue 4 years ago. If that remains blue, but I think Greenwich could flip back to red. Essex, I think, will be blue. Newark, obviously, is a very blue town, city. East Orange is a blue. Irvington's blue. Montclair's blue. There's a majority blue. But if I had to pick a wild card town in Essex County, I think the one town that could be a little bit of a wild card could be Nutley, because that was red 2 the last 3. But ultimately, the populations of the cities there in Essex County, especially Newark, that's definitely blue. Gloucester County, I think that will be red. South Jersey, a ton of Republican towns, although there could be a couple wild cards. I think one of the wild cards is West Deptford. That was actually a blue town 2 of the last 3. But I think that town's a little bit of a wild card, and I think that Monroe Township in Gloucester County is a little bit of a wild card too. That was red 2 the last 3 and was blue the last election. Hudson County, blue. I mean, what else is there? Jersey City, that's a Democrat county. Weehawken, Union City, although that town did vote red in 2013. But yeah, we don't have to spend much time on Hudson County. We know that that's a blue county. But if there's a potential wild card, it might be Secaucus. Hunterdon, that's red. The only city that is blue is Lambertville. Which is crazy. Everybody else is red or voted majority red. And I won't be shocked if it's the same. But if there's a wild card that could potentially flip or could potentially be blue, is Flemington, which was a blue town 4 years ago in the election. It could remain that way. So if I had to pick a wild card town, I'm going to say it's Flemington. I'm going to say Hunterdon will be a Chattarelli winning county. Mercer, I'm going to say that Murphy takes Mercer County from a popular vote standpoint. Trenton and Princeton obviously are big. The Windsors voted blue 2 of the last 3. But I think the wild card here is Hamilton here. A town next to Trenton voted red 2 of the last 3, with the blue being 4 years ago. So I think if there's a wild card that could potentially go to red or have this be a little closer, is Hamilton. Middlesex County, one of the tougher calls. I think that this is a big county for Jack. I think that there's more red in this county than you think. Although some of these municipalities voted blue in 17. I think the big wild card town in Middlesex County is Monroe Township. Voted red 2 of the last 3. It was very close in 2017. I think that obviously New Brunswick will be blue, Piscataway blue, Perth Amboy blue. South Amboy red the last 3 elections, caught me by surprise a little bit. Another potential wild card is South Brunswick and heck, even Sayreville too. I think that Sayreville will probably be red because I feel like Chattarelli has done a lot of campaigning there. And I feel like South Brunswick's going to go blue. Old Bridge is red, but I think that Middlesex is going to end up being red. I really do. Monmouth County, it's a red county. The only couple towns that were blue, Asbury Park, which is where Governor Murphy will be tonight. Long Branch was blue 2 of the last 3. Roosevelt, surprisingly, blue the last 3 elections. Red Bank, 2 of the last 3. Neptune, 2 of the last 3. But there's so many big towns in Monmouth County. You have Howell, you have Colsteck, you have Freehold. I think that is a red county. Morris County, I think this will also be a red county. I think a couple wild card towns is Parsippany, Troy Hills, who voted blue 4 years ago. That could remain blue. Making a case for Morris to go blue. I feel like that. Dover was blue 4 years ago. But a lot of the county voted red the last 3 elections. Ocean County, this is a red county. The only town that I think may end up going blue is Lakewood, which to me doesn't really surprise me because there's a lot of in-state people from Lakewood and I've worked for the state and such, so I think they could go blue, and that's but yeah, if there's a wild card that could potentially go to blue, I really can't pick one out. I mean, I think Lakewood will probably be blue. Maybe a town like Brick or Toms River, but we'll see. Those are very Republican-heavy towns. But we'll see. I think that Ocean County is red, red, red. Passaic, I think that will be a blue. Passaic and Patterson are very, very blue cities. There's a lot of red in Passaic County, but I think ultimately that's going to be blue, as this was a blue county 2 of the last 3. Wild card town in Passaic County is Clifton, because that was a blue city 2 of the last 3. So we'll see about that. But I think that a town like Clifton, and then obviously the combination of Passaic and Patterson, is why I think ultimately Murphy will win Passaic County. Salem, I think, will go to Chattarelli, but it'll be close. Penns Grove and Salem are only two towns that voted blue the last 3 elections. The majority is all red. And I think a wild card that could potentially flip Salem to blue is either Woodstown or Carney's Point. Salem was red the last 3 as a whole. By the way, Passaic 2 the last 3 blue. And then Morris, Monmouth, and Ocean red the last 3. Somerset County, that's where Chattarelli is from. He's from Hillsborough. I believe he will be in Raritan tonight, which is a red town. I think Somerset will be red because of the Chattarelli factor and the fact that he's from Hillsborough, which voted red the last 3 elections. But I think if Somerset goes blue, I think the wild card town could potentially be Franklin Township. Big population right by New Brunswick. That could push it to blue. Bound Brook was blue 4 years ago. So South Bound Brook and Somerville, those are big towns in Somerset County. Sussex County, that's red, all red. Every municipality voted red the last 3. So we don't have to touch on that. I think that's a red again. Union, I think, will be blue. A ton of big cities in there. Elizabeth, Linden, Rahway. Big populations, very, very democratic municipalities there. Wild card town that could potentially flip Union to red, which actually was a red county 8 years ago in 2013. I think the wild card might be like one of those smaller kind of towns, like a Springfield or a Scotch Plains that have voted red. to the last three. Kenilworth's a big population town. That's a very red town. Clark's a red town, amazingly enough. But ultimately, because of the big populations in the bigger cities like Elizabeth and Linden and Rahway, Union, Roselle, I think Union County will be blue. And then Warren County, it's like Sussex County, with the exception of Phillipsburg, which voted blue 4 years ago. I think this is a red county as well. And for my final pick, I'm tempted to say Jack Cheddarelli. I'm very, very tempted to pull the trigger and make the upset pick. But I think that the bigger cities will be the difference here, as I think that some of these municipalities that voted blue 4 years ago but voted red when Chris Christie won his 2 elections could potentially stay at blue. I think it'll be very close. I'm going to say it's like 48% to 44% in favor of the incumbent Governor Murphy. Do I feel good about it? No. That's why I'm so tempted to say Jack, because I think Jack's done amazing with his campaigning, going from literally town to town, getting big crowds, Jack for governor signs everywhere. But I think, like I said, I think the difference is the towns like Newark, Atlantic City, Camden, Trenton, all the cities up north like the Jersey cities, Elizabeth, obviously New Brunswick. So I'm going to say it's Governor Murphy, but I do not feel good about it at all. Like, not at all. All right, New York City mayoral is tonight. You have Eric Adams going against Curtis Silwa. I think that Adams has a good reputation. He was the borough president of Brooklyn. So he has that going for him. He has a good reputation. Curtis Silwa, founder of the Guardian Angels, he's a radio talk show, so he has a little bit of popularity, but ultimately I think that Adams will win. I think this is a landslide because of his reputation. He was a state senator from the 20th District. He was a cop. So I think it's going to be Eric Adams. And I think it's going to be an absolute landslide. As de Blasio won it pretty much in a landslide too. The only borough that was red was Staten Island. I think that there's a chance all 5 boroughs will be blue. But if there's any borough that's red, it's going to be Staten Island. And I think that the Bronx, Manhattan, Queens, and Brooklyn, and I think very heavy Brooklyn, will vote blue. And then Virginia, you have Terry McAuliffe against Glenn Youngkin. So this is different what Virginia does. As incumbent Governor Ralph Northam is ineligible to run because the Constitution of Virginia prohibits governors for serving consecutive terms. So McAuliffe was the governor prior to Northam, and that has it going for him. Glenn Youngkin is somebody that was the former co-CEO of the Carlyle Group. And then obviously McAuliffe is very well known in the state. In 2017, Northam won 53.9% of the vote and Gillespie 45%. a lot of red counties in Virginia. But a lot of the bigger cities like the Richmonds and cities like that will be the difference. I think that the familiarity with McAuliffe will push it over the top. I'm going to say that this is a little closer than you think, because there's a lot of red areas in Virginia, especially in the western part, the southwest part of the state, and along the west coast of Virginia. But I think the bigger cities is what's the difference here, with like the Alexandrias of the world and Richmond. And I think that McAuliffe wins. I'm going to say like 50-42 because of the familiarity with McAuliffe. I think McAuliffe returns to office. So I'm going to say that McAuliffe gets it done tonight in the Virginia gubernatorial election. All right. Last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. I think that there's some interesting possibilities for tonight. So I don't know where exactly to go, but because it's a big game, it's the biggest game of the night, I'm going to go over 8.5 in the World Series game between the Braves and the Astros. The overs hit a lot in this series, so, and let alone in the playoffs. So give me over 8.5 minus 118, 1 unit, Braves and the Astros. All right, that's it for today's show. Tomorrow we'll recap the elections. We will go over every game from last night. Look ahead to tomorrow. Is it Masked Singer or Game 7? We'll find out tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.